Alright guys, so this is another comic review from a book that was sent to me by my good friend Chris. Chris, thank you once again for the comic. And today we're going to be talking about Planet of the Apes, Fall of Man. This is the first volume in Marvel's relaunch of the Planet of the Apes books. I say relaunch because back in the 70s, Marvel did do Planet of the Apes books. I find it funny that, like, they gave all these IPs away, like Conan and, you know, Alien and... Well, they never did Alien and Predator, but, like, they didn't do Star Wars for a long time, and then Planet of the Apes, and they all just kind of have all been taken back. This one, of course, due to the acquisition by Disney of Fox. So they've actually got it under, along with this and Alien and Predator, 20th Century Studios Comics. So that's the imprint they've been doing since the relaunch of those books. It was part of that 20th Century Studio relaunch with Alien and also when they brought in Predator, too. I think that was the second volume for Predator they started doing that. I could be wrong. But yeah. So let's talk about this. So obviously from the cover you can glean that this is set in the Caesar trilogy, basically Rise, Dawn, and War of the Planet of the Apes. Probably one of the best movie trilogies ever, just saying. But yeah, so this is set in, it's supposed to be set in that timeline, but already it doesn't feel right. Like, it doesn't feel right at all. Because this whole story takes place in 2018, and 2017 is when war takes place. 2018, like, this doesn't make any sense timeline-wise, because by this point, the virus had, mutated and was starting to devolve humans into mutes, as well as, you know, more animal-like. But here, all the humans are totally fine. Like, they are completely 100% fine. Also, they do not bring up Caesar at all in this book. Like, Caesar is a literal... is brought up once, and they do bring up Rise of the Planet of the Apes, but that's it. Now, what is the story? The story is a disjointed mess. This book is literally 5 issues, but it feels like they're trying to cram 2 story arcs that they had in mind together into a 5-issue miniseries. Yeah, I'm not joking. It's 2 stories, and even then, it really feels like they wanted it. This comic really does feel like this was meant to be a new ongoing, but they didn't have any time. And you could say, oh, well, they could bring this back like the Alien and Predator books, where it's miniseries that are interconnected, like the Alien and Predator books. Yeah, except that Mark Guggenheim's doing a Planet of the Apes book that's set with the Charlton Heston timeline. So I don't think that they're coming back to this for a while. I also think the reason why they did the Caesar timeline first was because of, you know, gotta get that synergy for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So getting back to the story, finally. The story is a group of UN soldiers who are trying to protect apes in order to create a cure, but there's this army of, like, right-wing psychopaths who call themselves the Army of Men, who have been exterminating apes left and right. They've also been launching attacks on governments and whatnot, and that's Story A. Story B is a backup that focuses on a gorilla in Paris known as Pug, who has been rallying an army of apes against the European chapter of the Army of Men. Yeah, this book is disjointed as shit. Like, at no point do the 2 things feel connected. Even the main story itself does not feel connected. Our main character, Taban, Sergeant Taban, she's connected to the apes, like she does sign language with them, and really wants to protect them. But there's also, like, a crammed-in love story that you forget that she has with someone else, and the Army of Men don't, like, they have the Exterminus Verati, or something like that. Something some right-wing fucktard would probably come up with and think it's cool. But they feel like a bigger threat than they should. Like, I'm like, wait, hang on. This doesn't feel right, because they said, canonically, by 2015, during Dawn, like, right before the events of, like, around the events of 2013 or 14, when during the time when Dawn of the Planet of the Apes was going on, they had said all the governments had gone dark. Like, a vast majority of them had gone dark. But here, it's like, oh, the U.S. presidency in Washington is still standing in 2018, when there's supposed to be a mutation in the virus and devolving everybody. Also, they bring up at no point Woody Harrelson's army of insurrectionists, kind of a big deal. Yeah, this comic does not feel like no one watched the Planet of the Apes book, because there's no point where, like, they keep trying to save the apes, but and there's supposed to be, like, harmony between them, but, like, the whole thing is the Planet of the Apes is supposed to be about the apes' rise, and by this point the government should be gone in this timeline. Not to mention, there's stuff they bring up that they never bring up again. Like, oh, we can find a cure for the apes. They never do, obviously. But the other thing is, they bring up this plot line, this plot point that they never come back to, of there are orangutans in Malaysia that are living peacefully there, coexisting with the humans. And they're all about coexistence and whatnot. I'm like, in any other comic, I would be totally fine with. Planet of the Apes is not about coexistence. It's about, the apes creating their own society from man's decadence and kind of repeating those in the future. Again, I really do feel like they did not read this they did not watch the fucking movies at all. The art's really good. The artwork by, hang on, I gotta look it up. The artwork by Dave Watcher, with colors by Brian Valencia, hope I'm saying the last name right, are really good. I actually thought it was Carlos Magno for a bit. Carlos Magno, who had done, like, King Kong and the Planet of the Apes. He's done a lot of books that are very colorful and vibrant. And the artwork here did make me go, is this Magno? Is this Carlos Magno? I really want to see him again in a Apes book again. But no, it's not that. The Pug sub-story in Paris goes nowhere. It's just kind of repeating the same things, like, oh, Pug's just a dumb animal. No, he's not. See? He's not dumb. This is not worth your time. As a Planet of the Apes fan, there is no fall of man here. It's like mankind does pretty well. Like, mankind apparently is doing pretty well in coexisting with the apes. This is not a great book. And I know, I'm shitting on a book a friend got me with his own money, but, like, Chris always tells me to be honest with these reviews whenever I read them. And this was, as a fan of... And I'm not saying this is, like, I'm more of a fan of the Heston movies than I am the Caesar movies. Like I said earlier, the Caesar movies are goddamn... They're some of the best movies of ever. Like, one of the greatest movie trilogies. And I'm very excited for Kingdom. Well, hesitantly excited for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, I should say. But yeah, this, just skip over. I don't know if, I do want to read Beware of the Planet of the Apes when it comes out in trade, because, again, it's the Heston timeline, and it sounds like a cool prequel to the original movie. But at the same time, it's written by Mark Guggenheim, and Guggenheim isn't a great writer. I'm not gonna lie. Guggenheim is if you want mediocrity incarnate, go read a Mark Guggenheim book. But I will give it a shot. I do want to give Beware the Planet of the Apes a shot. Because, again, he's like, Guggenheim's at least good with classic IP, so I'll give him that. Anyway, so you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you read? If you read Planet of the Apes: Fall of Man? Let me know in the comments below. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. Chris, thank you once again, and I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.